Over here we have a very small Nintendo controller. Very small. This would be, I would say, we call this a micro controller. This is a very small controller. It's very small, very small. It's tiny. I don't know. I don't know if I could. My hands are too fat for this controller.
All right, everybody, starting up with our coverage of the Retro.HK, do not forget to subscribe. Subscribe like you're subscribing to the Nintendo Power magazine in the year 1989. You know, essential to your life.
All right, I just want to welcome everybody out to another episode of I Remember Gaming. This is KodaK, your host.
I want to welcome everybody out to I Remember Gaming's coverage of the Retro.HK convention here at the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. I'm going to take you guys on a personal tour throughout and kind of show you what there is to see here. So come with me. Attending last year's Retro.HK was one of my personal highlights of last year. So imagine my pleasure when being asked to take part in this year's event. This year brought more of everything that made the 2016 convention great and cranked it up to level 10. I was commissioned by the Retro.HK's organizers this year to personally interview several different game developers, working primarily in remakes, re-releases, and brand new retro-style games. Also this year, I was hosting the English live stream of all of the tournaments on Twitch for the Retro Cup. Over here we have the Wonder Boy and Monster Boy brand new exclusive setup here. We're actually going to have an interview with Omar Cornut of the Wonder Boy remake, and that's going to take place later today. I'm going to splice some of that footage in so you guys can take a look at it. But we have their new games. They're basically new retro games based on the Wonder Boy series of the 80s and 90s. Monster Boy is more of a spiritual successor. Wonder Boy is a straight-up remake. So it's actually going to be really cool. We'll have some links in the description below to these projects so you guys can check them out. Among some of the sponsors, of course, was the ever-present authority in quality AAA retro games in Hong Kong, Otaku Games, with the owner Maurice serving in many capacities at the event, basically being a second-in-command and providing a great deal of the retro consoles for the free play area. Over here we have Perfect Denki set up. These guys are renowned for the rare and hard-to-find retro gaming materials, consoles. Over here you can see we have some Super Famicoms that were built into the TV. I got to do a little bit more research because I didn't even know these existed before I came here. I'm an American gamer, what can I say? One of my favorite games from my top 8, if you guys remember, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game. Of course, Super Mario Brothers. We got a CP System 3 for Street Fighter 3 arcade. You guys can check them out. Perfect Denki in Hong Kong. Perfect Denki added even more pieces to its finely curated museum of gaming's awesome past. The Nintendo cases for me were always a great treat, along with other obscure consoles I grew up with, like the 3DO or the Magnavox Odyssey. They had a totally rad Dreamcast dev kits and some other Sega goodies. You know, they had things from the 70s. They had all sorts of cool Pong consoles and Sega consoles, even some pink PlayStations for good measure. Really, this is always one of my faves when coming to these. All right, over here, same thing as last year. My favorite part of the convention was kind of these relics from gaming's past. We've got Perfect Denki put out some of their most expensive and rare parts of their collection. You know, we got the 3DO, we got a 32-bit Sega Mega CD combo. All right, over here we have, this is where I was streaming for our Retro Cup 2017 competitions.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles will not return after these messages. I remember gaming will. Sorry.
On 2 special nights in August 2017. A competition like no other. Competitors from around the world will face off in the event of the century. The Retro Cup 2017! Featuring video games like Super Mario Bros. Speed Run, Power Stone 2, King of Fighters, Street Fighter 2, and KodaK's favorite RPG of all time, Virtua Tennis, and much, much more. Test your might. You can even catch George, the Hong Kong Pokemon champ, in the event. Stay tuned.
All said events will take place over on RETRO.HK's YouTube channel. You can find the link for that in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, or I'll kick you in the dick.
Now back to I Remember Gaming.
We did Street Fighter 2, Super Mario Bros., Street Fighter 3, and Power Stone 2 yesterday. I took 4th place in the Super Mario speed run. I sucked. Over here we have some amazing retro 8-bit pixel art made with Legos. And these are some really awesome things for the kids. You know, my son, George, from George Speeds to China, was able to make a Super Mario one. They let him take it. These guys are very cool. It's called Bricka Project, right? Okay, cool. Oh, and over here I have George from George Speeds to China. How you doing today, George?
I'm doing good.
I heard that you entered some competitions. How did you fare?
Badly.
What competitions were you in today at the Retro.HK and yesterday?
Tennis.
Virtua Tennis for the Sega Dreamcast, right?
Yeah. Tennis, Power Stone, and Super Mario Speedrun.
Okay. Well, very good, very good. We hope to see you. Are you gonna be competing in the King of Fighters tournament a little bit later?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we wish you all the luck in the world with that. All right. Over here, we've got some other games that we interviewed some of the creators for. We got Cursed Castilla X, which is kind of a Ghost and Goblins spiritual successor that I can actually play without dying in the first 10 seconds. Over here we have Tiny Thor. I had an interview with the creators of that as well. And over here we have Sturmfront, which I also spoke and sat down with an interview with the creators of Sturmfront. Sturmfront is kind of a throwback like Total Carnage or Smash TV. Now we're coming to my second favorite part of this convention, maybe my first this year. This is the free play area. People have brought collections from all over Hong Kong for people to try out, and it's absolutely free. It's not just, you know, a few beaten up systems. They actually even have some very rare consoles, computers, retro games out here for everyone to try. So let's come take a look. Over here, we're gonna start up with some of the old school PC gaming. We got an NEC PC 98, which I didn't have this exact computer growing up at a 386, but a lot of the games they have here, you know, like Prince of Persia and some of these other ones I definitely did grow up playing.
To elaborate a little more on what the Retro.HK Gaming Expo actually is. This event was the brainchild of a Hong Kong citizen that goes by the name of Dixon Wu, known for, among other things, as one of the founding members of the Shenmue 500K Facebook group. Dixon told me the way it came to be, he was fascinated with retro gaming culture and noticed that other cities across the globe had retro game cons. And when looking into the scene in Hong Kong, he was completely shocked to discover that there was not a show like this already going on. So he made it happen, like a boss. The show is in its 3rd year of annual operation, and like I stated in last year's video, it really started off with a bang, being the first venue on Earth to showcase the newly discovered Nintendo PlayStation prototype. This year's event was bigger and better than ever, with more competitions, more CRT TVs, over 100, an expanded free play area with more retro video game consoles, lots of new sponsors. I even got 2 of my famous YouTube buddies from over in Shenzhen who are also huge retro gamers, Lawa86 and SERPENTZA, to slide through for a subscriber meetup. All things considered, definitely the most astonishing thing on display at the Retro.HK was KodaK himself in all his glory. I heard people made the pilgrimage from far and wide just to see him in real life. A panel of 9 out of 10 doctors rated KodaK from I Remember Gaming as definitely the most handsome person not only in attendance, but alive on the planet.
Tens of thousands of doctors, general practitioners, surgeons, specialists, doctors in every branch of medicine were included. And according to this nationwide survey, more doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette.
Now, for the video finale you have all been waiting for. We have scored an exclusives of exclusives with the one, the only, king of the Hong Kong retro gaming community and brainchild of this entire event, the world famous Dixon Wu!
All right, so I'm joined with Dixon Wu, the founder and organizer of the Retro.HK event. So, first question I have for you. This year, after working here, I've realized, how much of an undertaking this has been. What was kind of the motivating factor behind you organizing this event?
Well, we have a group of friends that, we do retro gaming regularly, and we got together and think that we need to do Hong Kong's first retro gaming fair, to basically spread the culture and history of video games and have the next generation come in and try the original video game hardware. As you can see, there are people from all ages coming in this weekend, and for a lot of them it's actually the first time they've actually experienced the original hardware. They've probably heard it from somewhere, but they haven't really tried it. So we're very happy that more people they actually know about the Hong Kong video game history.
All right, awesome. So this is a question I've been asking pretty much everybody, all the developers, everyone I've spoke to. What would you say is kind of, in your formative years, what was one of your defining gaming moments that had the biggest impact on you, that made you a gamer for life, basically, and also kind of have that love for that period in gaming?
Okay, so I started playing games on the Famicom. So I think for a lot of gamers, they would of course say that Super Mario Brothers was one of those defining moments. If I have the opportunity to name a few more, I would say Contra and Double Dragon also was very defining for me. It made me a gamer, as so to speak, because these were the games that I grew up with, and I have a younger brother, and these are the games that we played together all the time. Okay. And I think that is how we define gaming, and that's something that I miss in modern gaming, is that in older games you always sit with a friend or a family member.
Cousin, yeah.
Exactly, you either beat each other up or you beat someone up together, right? And this kind of experience is lacking in modern gaming. So yes, that is a very important thing for me.
Yeah, I agree. The more that it goes online, the more that we're connected, the further apart we are. We were playing, whatever it was, maybe Bond. I remember my cousins, we used to have, 4 players sitting on his couch playing together, and that's a million times funner than any time I've ever had online gaming.
Yes.
Million times.
I mean, online gaming is of course making us connect easier. So when you're alone at home in the middle of the night, you have a better chance of finding someone to play with it. But then there's no conflict with having a face-to-face experience when you're playing games. And I think this is a very important thing, especially in the retro gaming sense, that it's really the social experience that counts. Right?
Yeah, and that's one of the things I've noticed out here is, there's a ton of different kids and people of all ages playing together on one TV, and, like you said, that's probably maybe a new experience for a lot of them. I guess my final question for you, what would you say your favorite video game of all time is, and why?
No matter how many times I get asked this question, it's really hard to answer. video game history, we're talking about 40, 50 years, right? So I would say the best game for me.
Maybe just name one of your top
Okay,
ones.
so top ones, Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Shenmue series. Although it hasn't officially been completed yet, it's still one of the best series, I think, and not just in terms of the storyline, but also in terms of the technology at that time. It basically inspired a lot of later sandbox games like GTA, and it's basically like the first game where you have this world to explore that you don't actually have to follow any missions. You don't have to avenge your father. You could go to the arcade and buy capsules and waste your money.
Go through your underwear drawer, find a cassette tape.
Exactly, find a Saturn, and there's no games for it, and then you
Saturn in the 80s.
Yeah, and then you go to the convenience store and try to win raffles and win a Saturn game. So I mean, how cool is that, right?
Yeah, I totally agree, and that's interesting that you picked Shenmue. I grew up in a small American town, and I thought maybe my love for Shenmue was just because it was so different. It was Hong Kong and Japan, and I was just like, oh, this is so out there. But you live in Hong Kong, and it's still one of your favorites. It's just a great game.
Well, I think as someone that lives in Hong Kong, that's born in Hong Kong, and then we look at Shenmue 2 when Ryo Hazuki arrives to Hong Kong. It's actually a very funny experience for us because we know how not accurate the map is. I mean, they land in Aberdeen and then walk past by Wan Chai, and I mean most of the parts don't really look like Hong Kong at that age. A lot of the voice acting was weird, and a lot of the signs didn't make sense. But then, many people, I mean, even in Hong Kong, still loves that game in the sense that this is how, let's say, the Japanese developers would picture Hong Kong, right? And then we still love that vision. We're not complaining about how not accurate it is as a Hong Kong, but then we love the Hong Kong that is, so to speak, in their eyes, how Hong Kong would look like. So that's the part that's really awesome.
Okay. Well, hey, I don't want to take up too much of your time.
I'd like to thank you again.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome commentating work.
Hey, thank you for having us. We really enjoyed our time here, but I got to get back to the mainland. All right, guys, we'll see you guys next time. We'll have a ton of videos coming out. So, all right, I'm here with Dixon Wu again, signing off. Thanks, man.
All right, guys, that was another episode of I Remember Gaming. Please don't forget to subscribe and tell me what you want me to talk about next. I got a few things on the board. I'm going to go over working at Game Crazy, a few other video games in the pipeline from the Nintendo 64 era, and we'll see you guys next time. And remember, KodaK moment.